Anna, you good?
Oh, hang on.
We can wait.
We can wait.
Camp is behind you.
Beautiful day, isn't it? Gorgeous. Gorgeous day in Gladstone. Oh, did you see some?
Yeah,
What? Over here?
yeah, right behind you.
Oh, I hope they pop out while we're here. Let me know when everyone's... You're right? You sure you're okay from there? Not too far away? Okay, well, good morning Queensland and good morning Gladstone. Well, it's wonderful to be in Gladstone on this beautiful day on a Sunday, and I hope Queenslanders are out enjoying the great lifestyle that we have on offer. And can I just give the COVID update first, and then we have a very significant announcement, not just for Gladstone but also for the state. So for our COVID announcement today, I can say that we have 0 community cases. Well done Queensland, fantastic. We have 2 cases that are in hotel quarantine, but we're not worried about those. And we have had 7,087 tests in the past 24 hours, so that's great to see people are still going and getting tested. 25,507 vaccines by Queensland Health, which was really good yesterday. So that means Queensland, we're almost getting to that 70%. We're at 69.71% at least one dose, and 51.75% that are fully vaccinated. And can I just say to the people in Gladstone and Central Queensland, we really need to bring your vaccination rates up. This is a matter of urgency. In Gladstone, we have only 58.1% who have their first dose, and 40.7% have had the double dose. So we really need regional Queensland to come out and get vaccinated. So, you know, talk to your friends, your family, your work colleagues, and tell them now is the time to get vaccinated. And I know that both Glenn Butcher, the local state member, and the minister, and also the mayor, Matt Burnett, are also out there driving to get the vaccination levels up, especially in the Gladstone region. So today we have some very good news, and I'm going to invite Dr. Andrew Forrest, who's come all the way from Western Australia to make such a significant announcement, not just for the Gladstone region, but also to the state. It's something I'm very passionate about. I'm going to let him talk first, then you'll hear more from me, and then the Deputy Premier and the Treasurer. So if I can ask Dr. Forrest to come to address us, and then if the Deputy Premier and Treasurer can join me.
Thank you, Premier. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to firstly welcome you all here. I'm obviously a very new investor, but we will be a substantial investor here. We're kicking off with the first part of a $1 billion+ project, $115 million to build an electrolyser facility, the first of a 6-step operation. This is a breakthrough for both Queensland and Australian green energy. It's one thing to start a solar farm or a wind farm and plug it into a city or a factory, have the ratepayers pay for it. It's entirely another to replace all those imports, everything's currently made overseas, to replace all those imports with manufacturing for electrolysers, wind turbines and towers, solar farms, photovoltaic cells, long-distance cabling, switchgear, everything. The first step is what the world needs most, which is electrolyser facilities. That is the machine which splits water into hydrogen and oxygen. Now, this 2 gigawatt facility doubles the world's current capacity. It is just the start of what we need to deliver for Australia, which is over 150 gigawatts between now and the end of this decade. So we're talking a very large future. We see here, just in the electrolyser plant alone, the electrolyser factory, several hundred jobs. But in the full 6 stages, several thousand jobs. And when you combine it with the amount of renewable electricity, you can feel it on your skin right now, that gentle wind, perfect for wind power. You can feel the sun, which your Premier has every reason to be proud of. You take it for granted here. Let me tell you, I went to 62 countries in the last 18 months. You can't take it for granted everywhere. Here, though, you have this beautiful combination of wind and solar, and you have a hard-working, educated people. You have, I think, a great government which is steering in towards a green hydrogen future. And why? Because they're prophetic. The world will move on from fossil fuel. You can all have your own opinion as to when that happens, but what I promise you is we will not allow the world to keep on cooking. We will not allow ourselves and our children to inherit a much less stable, much more hostile environment than we have. Given that the world is moving, and you'll see it in COP26, the world is moving substantially. The world is moving fully against all forms of global warming. Do you want to wait for that? How do we get on that? Now let me tell you, here is the difference. Listen to that sound. That is the sound of the past. That is probably a diesel or clunky fueled engine. If that was a hydrogen fuel cell, which the world is moving to, it would be silent. I'd like to share with you that Fortescue isn't just building the manufacturing, isn't just building the power plants, but we're also proving the future. It took us 3 months only to take out a powertrain in the world's first haul truck and replace it with an invented hydrogen fuel cell. At the same time, we replaced ammonia in train engines and green ammonia in ships' engines. It's working, ladies and gentlemen. This is the start of the Industrial Revolution. What we need to do now, once we've proven the technology, is prove that we can manufacture the equipment to deliver all that fuel, all that green product, and also prove that it can be done here in Australia, here in Queensland, and we have chosen Gladstone. Thank you, Premier, for your leadership for our great state. Thank you, all of you, Mayor, Ministers, Treasurer, Hydrogen Minister. We wouldn't be here without you. Thank you for making us so welcome. Count on us now to deliver. Thank you. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you, Andrew. Can I thank Andrew? As we know, hydrogen is part of Queensland's future and sets Queensland up to be an energy powerhouse in green, renewable hydrogen. It's something I've been passionate about for many years. In fact, that's why I appointed Mick de Brenni as our first Minister for Hydrogen. But what Andrew's talking about today is manufacturing. It's the manufacturing component here that sets Queensland up not for the next few years, not for the next decade, but for the decades to come. This announcement today, in terms of setting Queensland up to be a hydrogen superpower, is almost as significant as getting the Olympics. This sets Queensland up for the future. Our close proximity to Asia, our great trading relationships, we know how interested Japan and South Korea are, but in terms of the manufacturing, this means that there will be ongoing jobs, starting with hundreds, but going into the thousands into the future. We'll be working collaboratively together to make sure that we have the skills and training needed to ensure that our young people have the very best future. And as I've always said, Queensland's best days are ahead of us. And to see that Andrew has the vision and the foresight to invest in Queensland sets Queensland up, and we know that more investment will come over the next decade. As I've said, the next 11 years leading up to the Olympics is going to transform our state. But hydrogen is about the next green revolution. This is about sending a very clear message to not just Queensland but to the rest of Australia that anything is possible in this state. Our greatest asset are our people, but now we are moving to the next level to actually manufacture those electrolyzers here as part of our green renewable hydrogen revolution. So I'll quickly hand over to the Deputy Premier and Treasurer, and then we'll be happy to take some questions. And we'll also hear from Mick and from Matt, and we'll be ready. Go.
Thank you. Thank you, Premier, and thank you, Twiggy, for coming to Gladstone. It's fantastic to have you here. Andrew and Fortescue Futures vision is an inspiring one, and it is one that is very closely aligned to the Palaszczuk government's vision, and that is that while we become a renewable energy superpower, we should use that renewable energy to create as many jobs here in Queensland as we can, including in manufacturing. And so we've spent this year trying to convince your team, Twiggy, that Queensland is the place to do it, that Gladstone is the place to do it, and we're just so pleased that you've made the decision to start here, and we really do hope to see all of those stages of development play out here in Gladstone. This is massive for Queensland. It's about not just generating renewable energy, but creating jobs across the entire value chain, making the electrolysers here to make the hydrogen here. The biggest electrolyser manufacturing plant in the world will be built here in Gladstone. Gladstone is perfect for it because we have the state-owned port, we have the rail infrastructure, the transmission infrastructure, and of course the strategic land on which it will be built. They are all legacies of previous energy booms, but we are determined to make sure that in this energy boom we use as much of the energy we generate here as we possibly can to create jobs here, in this case creating new jobs in manufacturing so we can secure existing jobs, attract new jobs in new industries. It's exactly why we embedded in our last budget the Queensland Jobs Fund, and the largest part of that Jobs Fund is the Renewable Energy and Hydrogen Jobs Fund, and you can see right here now exactly what in practice we will be able to do.
Well, good morning to everyone here in Gladstone and everyone watching online. What a great announcement. What a great day today for Gladstone, for Queensland and for the future of hydrogen in Queensland. When it comes to hydrogen, you can be ready to lead or you will be left behind. And today is a new dawn, a sunrise on a new industry for Queensland. Today, the hydrogen revolution begins in our state. Fortescue Future Industries could have chosen anywhere in Australia, to have made this investment, and they've chosen Queensland. And why has Andrew Forrest and FFI done that? Because we've got the people, the places and the passion to turn this into a reality. We've got the highly skilled, the best people in the world to turn ideas into reality. We've got places like Gladstone, the great industrial city of Gladstone, other places in Queensland like industrial cities like Townsville, who have the knowledge and the know-how to turn ideas into reality. But most of all, we have the passion. We have the passion to turn the smallest element in the world into a giant opportunity for jobs and industrial development for our century in this state. And that passion matches the passion of Andrew Forrest. And I want to thank Andrew for his work with our government over the last 7 months to make this project a reality. It's not just about energy, it's about all of those manufacturing jobs that will come. Manufacturing electrolysers right here in Gladstone. Currently the world generates about 1 gigawatt of electrolysers each year. This first stage of this amazing project will generate 2 gigawatts. We'll almost triple the number of electrolysers being manufactured in the world right here in our home state. As Queensland's new Minister for Trade, I know how excited our trading partners are in the Asia-Pacific region and in Europe to work with us, to invest in Queensland, to create those jobs for this decade and beyond, because we can be that energy superpower, that low-carbon energy superpower for the world. And of course, as I said last week, Queensland trade means Queensland jobs, and Queensland hydrogen means even more Queensland jobs. So today is a great day for our state. We are ready to lead, and that's what this announcement demonstrates.
Well, I'm incredibly excited and proud as the world's first Minister for Hydrogen to be standing here today to be part of this historic announcement. Absolutely, there are jobs in renewable energy and hydrogen, but there are thousands more in that supply chain. And what we are doing today is announcing the start of the build of that supply chain. In fact, today's announcement heralds the re-industrialisation of this nation, starting from right here in central Queensland. In fact, we are bringing back manufacturing to Australia through the gateway of central Queensland here in Gladstone. To be a true renewable energy and hydrogen superpower, it's imperative that the entire value chain operates out of Queensland. And that means jobs for Queenslanders in a range of trades: machinists, engineers, fitter and turners, electricians, plumbers, builders, tradies. There will be thousands of opportunities for Queenslanders right here in Gladstone. I want to thank the Premier, Dr Forrest, the Deputy Premier and the Treasurer, the local member Glenn Butcher, and of course the Mayor for their collaboration around this terrific project.
Well, good morning and welcome to the great city of Gladstone, and welcome especially to Andrew Forrest, who is now going to deliver one of the world's largest renewable energy manufacturing sites in the world, as I said. It's great also to be a tradesman, a fitter and turner by trade, now giving our local people opportunities to come back to Gladstone and do this fantastic work that will become available through this project. We have said for a long time now, and particularly since I've been the Minister for Manufacturing here in Queensland, people of Australia are sick and tired of getting their equipment, their solar panels, their wind farms, their electrolysers from overseas. Now it's time that we bring that back to Queensland, we bring it back to Australia, but most importantly, we bring it back to Gladstone. We are delivering on manufacturing for Australia right here in my electorate. And as a local member and as a manufacturing minister, I couldn't be prouder of today's announcement. We now have a great opportunity for new apprentices, for our traditional owners to get secure work in our manufacturing sector. This is absolutely fabulous for the whole of Gladstone. We've set up $2 million for hydrogen training at our local high school here. We're certainly now delivering on our state development area, which is what it is designed to do, is to attract new industries to Gladstone and set us up for the future, for our children and for our grandchildren. So thanks everyone for coming today. It's not too often you get 5 ministers of the Queensland Government coming to one announcement, but this means that this is so special, not only for Australia, but particularly Queensland and Gladstone. And a big thank you not only to the Premier and Deputy Premier, but the whole Queensland Cabinet and the whole community of Gladstone for supporting this new industry coming to Gladstone.
Wow. Well, for those watching online, welcome to the Gladstone region. This is the land of the Gurang, the Gurangarang, the Baili and the Trebalang Bunda people. And I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present. Not every day as the Mayor do you get the Premier, the Deputy Premier, the Treasurer and 2 ministers come to town with Andrew Forrest to make such a huge announcement. We're used to big announcements in the Gladstone region. They built 3 LNG plants on Curtis Island, QAL, Rio Tinto, Boyne Smelters. All the big industries are happening right here in the Gladstone region, and this is a fantastic announcement for our community. Manufacturing is going to provide those jobs for my community into the future. And I'll cut it short because everybody's already had a bit to say this morning. Look, for my friends and family in the Gladstone region, this is huge for us. You've been looking for the next big thing. This is not just the next big thing for the next 2 years, 3 years or 5 years. This is going to set the Gladstone region and Queensland up for many, many years to come. I'm very excited as the Mayor. Thank you so much, Andrew, for bringing your company to the East Coast. You won't be disappointed.
Can we ask, the Deputy Premier said that the government had spent the best part of the year trying to get you over here. Can you talk about why Queensland, like Gladstone, is the place for FFI projects?
I think it's about the attitude of government and the Queensland people. Like West Australia, you've got this get it done attitude. You know, can do. Nothing really can get in the road of a fantastic idea in Queensland, and so I'm really proud to be part of this community. But I would like to say that it's also about the fact that if you need to get things done, you can. I'm seeing approval processes for green energy, which will be the longest part of delivery, and could be 7 years, it could be 8 years, it could be 4 years. But what I do see, having studied marine ecology, is our planet is cooking. Those oceans right there are expelling their oxygen. Fish are no longer searching for food, they're searching for air to breathe. And we need to turn that around. So coming to a very proactive state, in a very proactive community where we can build something which will help the planet go green and stop global warming and drive huge amounts of investment, and I believe tens of thousands of jobs, all new, all in Queensland. To me, it's a great privilege and one which I was very grateful to accept the invitation of.
You're known as a very ambitious person. Is there any element of risk in this investment for you and for Fortescue?
Well, look, I had a investment analyst ask my chief executive, a great lady, and he made the point, this is not a lay-down misère. I mean, this is not clear, this is not without risk. And I just said to Elizabeth, bring him back and say, if it's without risk, mate, it would have already been done. So I can say, yes, in any change, there is risk. But without change, it's impossible to have improvement. So while there's risk, we've got our plan A's, but our bulletproof plan B's. This facility is absolutely going ahead. We intend to turn the first sod January, February. It'll be the first stage of a multi-step program to turn Queensland into not only a replacement for all the manufactured items which come in from overseas, do it right here in Gladstone, right here in Queensland, but also to not just plug in power and sell it to a ratepayer, but to create the huge export energy and green product industries which Australia and Queensland will need to compete in the coming century. Because having travelled to 62 countries in the last 15 months, I can assure you we're not alone. Countries out there are beginning to move, but none with the speed and the leadership of Queensland.
Would you say, Twiggy, up until now, technology has been one of the big barriers in scaling up hydrogen?
Absolutely. So let's talk electrolysers. Electrolysers are being offered to us now, were last year and are this year in Europe for $1.2 million a megawatt. We're going to be able to build those electrolysers here in Queensland using great Australian workers for a fraction of that, and be able to use those electrolysers in our own facilities, but also to export them all over the world. So technology has been a real barrier, but when you see a huge haul truck start up with a huge amount of smoke and exhaust, the vision of the past, and a huge amount of noise, the sound of the past, and then you see the world's first hydrogen fuel cell truck start, and you see the vision of the future, no smoke, no exhaust, and you hear the sound of the future, silence, then you know technology is catching up, and catching up really fast. So we don't see technology as a barrier anymore, we see it as an opportunity.
You're talking about millions, if not billions, invested in this. What kind of dollar figure as an investor are you looking at for this facility?
This facility won't escape at least $1 billion. Our first step will be $115 million just for the first stage electrolyser plant. As the good minister said, that's double the world's current capacity of 2 gigawatts. But you did hear me mention that we intend to drive through to 150 gigawatts. So that plant and those plants are going to have to get a lot bigger.
Sod turn in January, February next year. You said approval process is pretty quick for Queensland. What are you thinking long term for completion of timeframes?
I want the first electrolysers to be rolling off the production platforms in 2023. Great question.
For export as well?
For export as well. But we'll have very serious demand here in Queensland, which is a great reciprocal opportunity for all across regional Queensland. I really see this as a wonderful day for regional Queensland, a wonderful day for regional Queensland employment, regional Queensland economic growth. Anyone who wants to stand in the road of that, I would say you're not acting in Queensland's interest. This is the future. This is a huge economic driver and employment driver for regional Queensland.
How big a part do you think this will be in FNG's strategy to be carbon neutral by 2040 and the government's carbon neutral strategy as well?
So we're the most forward-leading of all the heavy manufacturing, heavy industry, heavy carbon emitting companies not in Australia but in the world. So we have committed to go green, carbon neutral by 2030. But more important to your question is that we've also committed to have our customers go green by 2040. The only way we could possibly do that is by giving our customers an alternative. Any company who signs on to a Scope 3 emissions for 2050 or any date without a solution, honestly, that's vapid. We intend to drive from Queensland the manufacturing and the energy and the exports to allow our customers to go fully green by 2040. Yes, it's a huge challenge. Are we up for it? Is Queensland up for it? Absolutely.
Yeah, I might just finish up on this if I can, yeah. So if I can just thank Andrew for coming here. So this is recognising that we can have renewable jobs in regional Queensland. This is all about jobs, jobs and more jobs. Regional Queensland jobs, but manufacturing here in Queensland. And like Andrew said, rather than importing, they'll be homegrown here locally. So this is setting Queensland up definitely to be part of this green renewable hydrogen revolution, which is happening right across the world, but is being kickstart and powered here by Andrew's $1 billion investment, which is going to create thousands of jobs. This is a strong sense of support in our economic recovery plan because we have focused on keeping the health of Queenslanders safe from COVID.
Thank you.
Now I'm happy to take a few other questions, so I think everyone can... Yes? Yes?
Recent travels, 60,
Yep.
however many
62.
Yep.
Yeah.
How has that been possible with the pandemic, and how are you going travelling between states now with all those requirements?
It's been really tough. It's been really hard. I got COVID last year. I got flown into a Swiss respiratory unit, but we did go throughout Africa, throughout Latin America, throughout Central Asia, really all over the world. It's been part of a 5-year personal journey and part of an 11-year journey for Fortescue. 11 years ago, we became really interested in what we call the miracle molecule, which was hydrogen. 5 years ago, we both started to invest in technology where we can transport and store hydrogen as green ammonia. And I also started a 4-year PhD. I came out of that PhD utterly convinced that the trajectory the world is on towards warming could lead to what we call in science runaway global warming, where nothing we can do can stop it. Where before that tipping point, we've got to make sure we never get near it. I then needed to test a hypothesis that there is enough green energy in the world to responsibly go and commit my shareholders to such a massive, massive future. Coming back from that trip, I am convinced there's thousands of times more energy available to the Anthropocene than we'll ever need. And it's all green, it's all renewable. The world absolutely can and therefore must move on from a polluting future.
Just a question. With all the travel, there's a lot of pressure on governments to open up before Christmas. Can I ask what your stance is on opening borders right now?
I'm saying to everyone in Australia to take a vaccine. If you don't want to take a vaccine, show the science that it doesn't work. That's fine. If the science says it doesn't work, that's fine. Accept it. But if you don't want to take a vaccine because you've got freedom of speech or it's your body, then just remember it's not about you. There's someone and something a lot bigger than you personally, and that's the people you love, the people you work with. Take a vaccine for them. Be a true Australian, look after your mates and take a vaccine. All the borders will open.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Just following up from that, Premier,
Yeah.
there's some commentary from experts today around opening the borders and setting a date to kind of supercharge the rollout. Is that something that
And I think, Hayden, you wrote that article where you said, when are we going to open up to New South Wales when are we going to open up to New South Wales, which is COVID ravaged? There you go. I mean, that was in your first line. And it's good to see the numbers are coming down in New South Wales. And let me just reiterate exactly what Andrew said. The key is vaccination. So we will open up when it's safe to do so, when every eligible Queenslander has had that opportunity to get a vaccine. So you will see from my government, from my team, everyone will be driving the vaccine program making sure that, especially I'm up here today in Gladstone, urging the people here to lift your vaccination rates. They are not as high as down in the southeast. So we are at a critical point here where we need everybody to get vaccinated. We know at some stage COVID is going to come into this state. There may be another outbreak, and I don't know where that outbreak's going to be, but we need to be ready. And the best way you can protect yourself, your family and your community is to get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. I cannot be any stronger or clearer on this. Every single day, my government gets up and speaks to the people of Queensland and says, please go and get vaccinated.
Premier, do you think Queensland not having endured such a major outbreak like New South Wales has made some people quite complacent when it comes to getting vaccinated?
I think the word's getting out. I think people are talking about it. They're talking about it in their workplaces. They're talking about it at barbecues, when they're out and about. If we want to continue to enjoy our Queensland lifestyle, if you want to continue to see your children going to school, businesses open, going out to enjoy, cafes, restaurants, whatever, you need to get vaccinated. It is very clear, and that is exactly our firm focus. Get vaccinated.
Premier, will there be any changes to the New South Wales water bubble situation given they're opening up tomorrow?
Well, they're not actually opening up. It is easing of some restrictions. So the restrictions that Queenslanders now enjoy, we are fighting to protect our lifestyle, which is why we are also encouraging people to get vaccinated. They are gradually easing their restrictions. Yep. And honestly, I wish them all the very best with that. And we're starting to see the numbers come down, so that's also a good sign.
Premier,
Yeah.
following on from the comments from Ted O'Brien, will you have too much power on the Olympics organisation?
Can I just reject the article that was written? It is factually incorrect. I will work very cooperatively with the federal government. In fact, the best thing the International Olympic Committee said was the fact that all three levels of government were working so well together. That's the council, the state and the federal. So I think it was, it's a bit odd for a backbencher to be commenting on something that is being dealt with at the ministerial level.
Premier, we understand New South Wales police are investigating allegations that there were more friends than the three of Nathan Cleary that breached the border. Have you been made aware of this, and will Queensland police be investigating?
Look, people have got to do the right thing. People coming into Queensland without the proper declaration passes or being smuggled in on trucks is putting the entire Queensland community at risk. And I hope they get that message very clearly. So if there's any further updates, of course, the New South Wales Police and the Queensland Police work very collaboratively together to address these issues.
Has the federal government approved any application from the Queensland government yet for the return of international students to universities?
I'm not quite sure on that. I'm happy to look into it, but the Deputy Premier might want to comment about WellCamp in relation to when that gets finalised at the end of the year. That will be able to take international students, so we're being very proactive in that space. So I might just hand over to DP on that. Yeah.
So you would have seen we were out at WellCamp this week. They've started pouring concrete. The first of the cabins will be craned in a couple of weeks' time. That will provide 500 beds by the end of the year and 1,000 by the end of first quarter next year, some of which can be allocated to international students. The international students industry is incredibly important to Queensland. We want to get them back up and running just as soon as we can do so safely, and WellCamp is a key part of our plan to do that.
Okay. And sorry, just one more on Fortune Hospital. A review is set to be completed tomorrow.
I'll talk to the Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Would you mind, Premier, if we just do a quick group photo?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank